Welcome to the second devlog for my game that I'm making called Rogue Chess. I guess that's a working title for now. Um, yeah, I've been working on this a lot. I still don't have a crazy amount to show you guys in terms of the game itself. I can show that a bit at the end, but again, this is just to summarize. It's going to be kind of a chess homage, uh, homage to like chess culture and all of like the chess stuff that I've been absorbing for like the last 10 or so years, when I've kind of become like obsessed with the game. And also it's going to be like a roguelike, sort of similar to Balatro or Inscription if you've played either of those games. But really the idea is like you're kind of doing like this speed run and you're progressively fighting stronger opponents. But the twist is that each time you win a game or each time you lose a game, you're picking from these chess books, and those either give you a buff or they debuff you and make your run harder. I've been sort of thinking about a little bit more on how those buffs might work. Right now, I guess the idea is that we have like three different kinds of buffs. It's either red, blue, or green, and I'm just kind of thinking about magic cards. So the red debuffs, I was thinking, are kind of things that are persistent and they're going to last throughout your run. And it's possible to get three red debuffs even on a win, and you're going to pick between those three. Um, but like the whole idea is that those would make it harder for you to play. And I kind of like this idea of having these opening debuffs to like kind of force the player to try out different openings. I kind of want all these chess books to have like interesting names that are like based off of real popular books in chess culture. Scramble the names and scramble the names of the authors to make it like kind of clever and funny, hopefully. So, like for example, we have this one called the Queen's Gambit, Queen spelled with a K, and what happens is once you acquire that book, it's going to force you to play that for the duration for your run, and so you'll have to play the Queen's Gambit. And I think it'd be kind of cool. I kind of talk about this a little bit further. I think in the uh, art style that I'm thinking of going for, that I want like the pieces to sort of fly in, um, or like you can see the game play out up to that point. So like if you have the Queen's Gambit debuff activated, like you would see the moves happen on the board first, and then you would start playing. So yeah, I want the game to feel like very alive and dynamic, when these buffs are activated or these debuffs are activated. Um, yeah, so I have an example of a green buff here that or a green chess book that I haven't thought that much about, but like, this one, my 60 memorable blunders, uh, would cause the computer to blunder more often throughout your run. I think the instants are the thing that I've given the most thought to. So these are basically books that you can play anytime. So they would kind of like be in your inventory as you're playing chess. And I've gone over these a little bit before, but like teleporting pieces to a certain square could be really cool. So you just select the piece and you select where you want it to teleport. I'm not sure if that would be your move yet, or if you could make another move on top of that, but that's sort of the idea. The Power of Friendship, I guess, would be another interesting book name where you kind of can combine two pieces. And I was thinking about this a little bit more because I still haven't really decided how I want, the chess engine underneath it that like powers all your opponents, how I want that to behave. If I am feeding these moves or like the board state to like an engine like Leela or Stockfish or something like that, I think Leela would be better because supposedly it has like a little bit more personality. How would I treat having a combined knight and bishop? Because that's not really like a legal board state as far as it's concerned. So I'm wondering if I'll have to like roll out some custom engine stuff for that. But yeah, that's just one aspect that I've been thinking about might be an issue down the line. That the engine stuff in general is like I think going to be the hardest part of this. Um, just finding like an engine that I can use for commercial purposes or deciding whether or not I need to like roll out my own. And in that case, like I barely know how chess engines work. I think it has something to do with like depth first search or something like that to find the best move. But yeah, that's definitely going to be a learning curve. Yeah, another example, speed chess for dummies. So every time you play a move, you gain time, kind of like how you would with increment. Or you could lose time. So like that probably shouldn't be an instant, but those are like green buffs, so I guess I do have more greens than I thought. I like this one, The Art of Attack. That's like a popular chess book. I haven't figured out like a clever name for it, but basically, I'm thinking that you would like play this book um, once you see like a winning attack, but like it maybe doesn't quite work because the opponent wouldn't have to capture it. But with this instant, like after you do it, you can force the opponent to capture, and then like get like a cool attack against the opponent. And hopefully, all these books would be visible in like a library, which would be like another area of the room, like that the player is primarily in that they could go to see all the books, and then we could also have like stats there. Yeah, and I've thought a little bit more about like the art style. I want there to be like different environments, like a park, a library, a classroom. I think those could all be cool. But let me show, I guess, what I have so far. It's not that impressive. This has actually been like a good amount of work just getting basic 2D chess like programmed. This is something I've been struggling with. Like whenever I change the size of this like view space, it's like fucking up my UI, so I need to figure out how to make that consistent no matter how big this view is. Oh, I'm also thinking this is an old version of the game. Hey guys, sorry about that. Something very unfortunate happened. I forgot to save the Unity scene. I thought it was an issue with my git ignore file. Anyway, this is the board I made. Um, I made it in Sprite. Yeah, this is like one piece that I made, and I made the board here. Um, but yeah, that's how I set this up. I just made each piece. So I can give you like a little demo of what I have so far. Obviously, it's a work in progress, but you can make moves here. So I'll like do a little uh, collie system here. Just opening that I like. We can like do that and that. Why not? Um, develop our knights. Whoops. You can see the pieces snap into place, which is kind of nice. This what happened right there is like if you bring it to the outside edge here, it'll kind of like it's like rendering outside of the UI canvas space, so that's why it like looks weird when you render it. And what's cool is that it translates all the moves on the board. I don't know if you can see this here at the bottom to the console text. And the way I did that was pretty simple. I basically have like a two-dimensional game board, which is just like a 2D array of characters, and they start off blank. And the way I populate it with the pieces is that each of these pieces in Unity is like has a tag, and it's just like a Unicode representation of a piece. I I have a script on each of the pieces, and you can see in this piece of code right here when the chess piece is initialized, basically, um, it takes the tag character and it passes it to this register piece function, which lives inside the game board script. I'll show you that here. And here's where it just like sets the text board of all these like blank spaces. But then it will create a new piece object inside like a map, which so this is basically just like a map of all like the pieces to their positions. Um, so that like each piece is like uniquely coded so that like if I want to move a piece, I can clear it its old location. I can look up where it was in the piece data map, and then like I can set its position on the board. So that's kind of what happens here. So once we've registered all the pieces, we go through and we set its location. So here's where like there's also an update position function, which is also in this like piece class. I have some code here to like snap the pieces into place like on the grid. That's basically all this function does. And then here, when you drag the piece around, it'll snap it into place, and then we pass it to the update position function of the game board again. So let's go back there. So yeah, we look up the position that it was at already, We clear its old position. We get the new position. And the way that we do that is we take like the world position of the board, which was passed in to this function. World position is not like really an accurate term. It's more like what the piece's position is relative to the game board, because we're dealing with like UI elements. So yeah, that's basically how all this gets converted into like a textual representation. Um, so after we clear it, we update the position, and then we have this update board string function, which is really just building a string out of the game board, adding like the rows and the columns there, and then we can like just print the string to the console. At the end of the day, you get that textual representation of the board. So the next thing we need to do is like do board validation on this whenever the player makes a move, so that we can have a working chess game. Anyways, that's all I wanted to show for the actual demo today. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll probably have some editing to do on this after all the mishaps that happened while recording. I'm glad I finally got my scene back. Yeah, remember to always save your scene. That will definitely save you some headaches and you won't suffer like I did just now. Okay, take care. See you guys in the next devlog.